This is Gary with Bluegrass International Trucks in London. I'm Gary, Quality Control. I have 27 years of truck driving experience, and today we're going to talk about doing a good walk-around inspection. We have one of our for sale trucks here that we're going to use, and it's very well maintained. But if I was going to walk up on this truck and they said go take it for a load, and I was not familiar with it, the first thing that I would do, a lot of people want to jump up in the truck. I want to bend down and look and see if there's any oil spots. And just look around. If there's oil spots, you know you're going to have to investigate that. And a lot of people don't want to take the time to do it, but instead of jumping right to the lights, if I can pull this engine over. Some tools you'll have to do this the good way: a flashlight, a rag, and some kind of a hammer. The first thing I want to do is look at the fluids. The fuel filter, that fuel filter is good. You can look and see through the power steering, the coolant, and we're going to check the oil. A lot of people say you don't have to check it very often, but it should be checked every day. That way you know. And I want to, if you can come in here, the next thing I want to check is my brakes. If I don't know that truck, and I want to see if it's dry down there. And while I'm looking, I want to look and see if there's rust, any broken parts. This cover is actually something that needed to be placed back on. And I want to look at the belts. The belts are not really frayed, they're not in bad shape. Just want to look at it. Look and see if there's any oil leaks or anything coming from the front. And while I'm on this corner, this is not an exact science, but if you've driven a truck, you'll know what a low tire will sound like. It'll be a dull sound. Then we move over and do basically the same thing on this side. Looking at the fluids, looking at the belts, looking to see if there are any clamps that are showing some really bad signs. Look at this one. This one is a good clamp. We shouldn't have to check it, but look over here. This one has a little rust on it. We need to take a closer look at it. Just something that we can catch before we leave out with the load. Anything that we can find that looks out of the ordinary. And then we're going to go back to the back. We're going to look and make sure our mirrors are all intact, all our glass, all our wipers. You certainly don't want to leave with a wiper arm missing. And we'll just look back. A good fuel cap. I want to look back here, make sure I have everything intact. Looking up underneath, nothing dangling, no wires. And then I'm going to look in the back the same way. If you'll notice, these are really dry and there's plenty of pad life left. I'm going to look at the fifth wheel. This one has some extra stuff on it. And just looking at my suspension. I want to do this on any truck that I do not know. It's a little different when you drive the same truck every day, but I'm looking at my drive line, looking at something that is rusty that shouldn't be, something that is wet that it shouldn't be. When we look in there, everything looks good. Those pads or shoes are in great shape. Just looking for anything that's out of the ordinary. Looking at the bushings and the arms. They're not dried out, cracked, or gone. Anything that I can look at. You cannot be too particular. Okay, now that we've got this part done, I want to step up into the truck, and International has a nice little feature that's called a lamp check. It's that button right there. I love that on these Internationals. And I'll close the hood. And you can check from here and see all of your lights. You can verify them. It'll go through the sequence of all the lights, and we'll walk around. Well, it's kicked off. Let me turn it back on. Like I say, you just push and hold this button, and the lamp check, you have to turn the key to the accessory before it'll stay on. We'll just do it that way. And we can go back and just check our lights. Obviously, if you've got lights that are not working properly, you have to stop. And we're just looking at the bare minimum. So I need to jump up in the truck. And the next thing I want to look for will be my safety equipment. The fire extinguisher is not here. So let's take a look and see where our fire extinguisher would be. Let's see, it's normally marked. Right there is our triangles under the bunk.
Looks like we need to add a fire extinguisher.
Yes, it does. It way big. No, I'll tell you where it is. If you can look right over in here, it's over in the floor.
I just haven't put it in the bracket.
This is a work in progress on this truck. It is not finished, but how would we know that unless we were picky? And being that is the case, let's go ahead and fire the truck up and let's verify this thing will run for us. We're looking at all the gauges. With the lane departure system enabled, that's not really anything to worry with, but we want to see if there's anything. We do have a check engine light. Like I say, we're being honest. Let's find out what this is.
Code right there at the bottom?
Yes. Well, that's the load shed where we actually were working on the truck with the key on and the voltage went down. But moving on, the temperature, this truck is cold. We want to make sure that everything is coming up steady. All the gauges are actually working as they should. And while this thing is actually charging up, we want to make sure all of our light switches work. Turn this on automatic. Any switches that should work, they should be checked. Just making sure everything's going to work, because once you leave with this thing, a little problem becomes a big problem. And this is by no means a DOT inspection or anything. This is just what I would check if I walked up on a strange truck. Definitely we'll have to get that looked at, the check engine. I can't get it to pull up the alert, what it actually is at this time. But the next thing I want to look at while I'm in here is the seat belt. A lot of people overlook it. This seat belt, this truck has 300,000 miles on it. I want to make sure it works. It clicks in. And next, while the air is charging up, I've checked my lights. I kind of skipped through checking all the tires, but you have to check all 10 of those. We're mechanically good. We've got good oil pressure. Our gauges seem to be working good. I want this thing to charge up and hear the air dryer pop off. I'll rev it up a little bit to speed this process up. And then normally after this, the fan's kicked off at 100 psi. That is perfectly normal. Like I say, a lot of people, they like to kick the tires and light the fires when it's a truck you don't know, and by the time you hook up and you're taking off, if there's something wrong, you're going to have to answer to somebody for why didn't you check these things? We're getting close. Just let it get up too. After it does this, I'll do one more thing there. I'll shut it off and just push the brake pedal. Listen to hear if there are any obvious brake leaks. I'm not hearing any. So that would be a pretty good check. If I've owned my own trucks over the years, and there have been times I've been in a hurry. There have been times that the truck ran all night, but this is a good check for anyone that may need a refresher, somebody that's maybe not been around trucks before. And like I say, if you need any help, check engine light comes on. We're here at London, Kentucky, so come on down and see us. We'll be glad to help you. Thank you.